If you thought you knew everything about what goes on behind the scenes of a massive BTS Stadium tour, you need to stop right now and listen closely to what just happened. Right when everyone thought the preparation for the iconic New Jersey concert was smooth sailing, Jimin stepped forward and revealed a truth that sent shockwaves through the entire ARMY fandom. We are talking about an emotional, high-stakes moment that nobody, and I truly mean nobody, saw coming. So if you think this was just another routine rehearsal before hitting the stage at MetLife Stadium, prepare yourself, because what actually took place behind those closed doors will completely change the way you watch BTS perform forever. Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Signal. Welcome to all our amazing K-pop family and ARMY joining us today from every single corner of the globe. You know, whenever BTS prepares to step onto a stage as massive as MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, the energy in the air feels almost electric. Millions of fans are counting down the days, social media is exploding with ticket countdowns, and the anticipation is honestly off the charts. But while we were all busy planning our concert outfits, organizing fan projects, and practicing fan chants, something intense and deeply emotional was happening in the background. Jimin recently opened up about the real story of what went down right before the New Jersey show, and to say fans were caught completely off guard would be a massive understatement. To really understand why this revelation hit everyone so hard, we have to rewind a bit and look at the sheer weight of what this New Jersey concert represents. Performing at MetLife Stadium isn't just about selling out tens of thousands of seats in a matter of minutes, although BTS does that effortlessly every single time. It is about returning to an iconic venue after a long period of separation, ARMY service, and endless months of quiet preparation. The pressure on the guys was immense. They weren't just rehearsing songs. They were carrying the hopes and dreams of millions who had waited years to see all 7 of them together in that exact space. Everything had to be perfect. The production, the vocals, the stage design, the stamina. Every single detail was under a microscope. At first, it seemed like business as usual. Photos were dropping, stage setups were being finalized, and crew members were posting subtle hints about how grand the setup was going to be. Fans were cheering, celebrating, and speculating about the setlist. But behind those polished teasers and hyped-up social media posts, a completely different reality was unfolding inside the practice rooms. Dancers were pushing past their physical limits. Technical teams were scrambling to fix last-minute stage anomalies, and the members themselves were pushing their bodies harder than they had in years. Yet, none of us realized just how intense it really got until Jimin spoke up and shared the unfiltered truth about what transpired during those final crucial hours leading up to the concert. Jimin admitted that as the date for the New Jersey show drew closer, the anxiety in the room began to build to a level they hadn't experienced in a very long time. It wasn't just typical pre-show jitters. It was a heavy, overwhelming sense of responsibility. You see, when you've been away from the stadium atmosphere for a while, getting back into that rhythmic synergy isn't as simple as flipping a switch. The physical toll of performing 3-hour, high-intensity sets is brutal on its own. But when you add the emotional weight of a monumental reunion tour, the strain becomes unimaginable. Jimin shared that during one of their crucial full-dress rehearsals right before heading to New Jersey, something went completely sideways. A moment that almost threatened to derail the momentum they had built. What happened next surprised everyone, even the core production crew who have worked with BTS for years. During that intensive rehearsal session, the team encountered a massive technical and physical bottleneck. The staging for one of the most critical transitions in the show wasn't aligning with the physical timing the members needed, forcing them to reevaluate key choreography moments at the absolute last minute. Imagine practicing a routine hundreds of times until your muscle memory takes over, only to realize 48 hours before performing in front of 50,000 shouting fans that you have to change the flow. The fatigue was already setting in, sleep was minimal, and suddenly, the entire team was faced with a high-stress decision. Most fans didn't notice this detail, but if you look closely at the early production leaks, there were subtle hints that the stage layout had been altered almost overnight. While the fandom was discussing potential solo stages and guessing guest appearances, Jimin and the rest of the members were making heart-wrenching adjustments behind closed doors. Jimin confessed that in that exact moment of exhaustion and pressure, he looked around the room at his brothers and felt a sudden wave of vulnerability. It wasn't about pride or showing off flawless perfection anymore. It was about whether they could physically pull off what they had envisioned without burning out before the tour even reached its peak. And this is where everything became even more interesting. Instead of scaling back or taking the easy route, Jimin revealed that the energy in the room shifted in a way that gave everyone chills. But before we get into the exact words Jimin said during that breaking point, words that made even the toughest crew members tear up, we have to look at how the fans were reacting on the outside while all of this chaos was happening on the inside. Because while the members were locked in a race against time, armies were putting together something in New Jersey that no one on the management team saw coming. Outside the stadium walls, thousands of fans were already gathering, creating a massive, vibrant community hub days before doors even opened. Tailgating, trading photo cards, lighting up the surrounding streets in purple. The energy was absolute magic. But little did the fans know, news of the grueling rehearsal schedule had started to trickle out in small, fragmented rumors. Online forums began buzzing with concern. Was the schedule too brutal? Were the members getting enough rest after their grueling military transition? Speculation began to spiral, with some fans fearing that the pressure was simply too high for a smooth kickoff. The contrast between the joyful celebration outside MetLife and the tense atmosphere inside the rehearsal hall created a narrative that nobody could have scripted. When Jimin finally decided to speak about this moment during a recent intimate stream, his tone wasn't one of complaint or sadness, but of profound honesty. He described sitting on the floor of the practice studio, drenched in sweat, looking at the floorboards, and realizing that the expectations placed on them were astronomical. He shared how his voice was raspy from endless runs, and how his muscles ached to the point where even standing up felt like a chore. Yet, what fans didn't expect was his confession about his internal monologue. He admitted that for a split second, a voice in his head asked, "What if we aren't ready? What if we can't give them the BTS they remembered?" That level of raw vulnerability from an artist of Jimin's caliber is extremely rare. We often view idols as invincible superhumans who can step on stage, perform impossible choreography, hit high notes perfectly, and smile through it all without breaking a sweat. But hearing Jimin acknowledge that moment of deep self-doubt right before taking the stage at New Jersey shattered that illusion in the most beautiful way possible. It reminded everyone that behind the dazzling lights, expensive costumes, and pyrotechnics are real human beings who care so deeply about their craft and their fans that it physically hurts them when things don't go according to plan. However, that's not the whole story. Because just when the stress reached its absolute peak, a completely unexpected interaction between the members changed the trajectory of the entire New Jersey preparation. Jimin recalled how Namjoon walked over to the middle of the room, looked at everyone, and said something so powerful that it instantly broke the tension hanging in the air. Instead of focusing on the technical flaws or the looming deadline, the leader reminded them why they were doing this in the first place. It wasn't about delivering a clinical, error-free corporate showcase. It was about sharing a soul-level connection with the people who had stood by them through years of waiting. Here's why this moment became so special for everyone who heard it. From that second onward, the entire dynamic in the room transformed. The members decided to stop stressing over micro-imperfections and instead poured their raw, unfiltered emotion into every movement. They reworked the troubling stage transition not by making it more complex, but by making it more intimate, bringing themselves closer to the audience edges. Jimin mentioned that this very pivot, the exact change born out of near exhaustion and last-minute panic, ended up creating what many are already calling the most breathtaking segment of the entire concert. But wait, the story takes another surprising turn right here. Just as the team finally got the performance structure where they wanted it, an unpredictable outside factor threatened to disrupt the entire plan on the very eve of the concert. Weather reports began flooding in, predicting severe conditions near the MetLife area that could severely affect the outdoor staging and open-air production elements. For a show that relies heavily on intricate lighting, flying rigs, and outdoor pyrotechnics, this was the ultimate test. The management and safety crews were brought in for an emergency midnight meeting, leaving the members in complete limbo about whether the stage they had just spent endless hours perfecting would even be allowed to function as intended. Imagine going through an emotional roller coaster, overcoming mental hurdles, fixing last-minute choreography failures, and finally feeling ready, only to be told that the elements might force you to scrap half of your production layout hours before showtime. Jimin confessed that when they received the news about the potential weather adjustments, the frustration was palpable. The members had stayed up until the early hours of the morning fine-tuning every second, and now nature itself seemed to be posing a challenge. But what Jimin did next in response to this news took even the management team by surprise. Instead of going back to his hotel room to rest as recommended by the staff, Jimin stayed behind in the empty venue. He walked out onto the massive, deserted stage of MetLife Stadium in the middle of the night, looking out at the endless sea of empty seats under the dim stadium work lights. He described the eerie, calm atmosphere of standing there alone, feeling the cool New Jersey air, and realizing that no matter what happened with the weather, the stage, or the technical setups, the bond between BTS and ARMY was larger than any obstacle. It was a moment of quiet reflection that he said gave him a sudden, overwhelming sense of peace. When news of Jimin's late-night stage visit spread among the crew, it completely revitalized the morale of the technical team. Workers who had been pulling grueling 18-hour shifts to secure the outdoor rigging found new energy, seeing how much the performance meant to the artist. They worked through the night, reinforcing structures, adapting safety protocols, and ensuring that the stage would be operational no matter what came their way. It was a massive collective effort where the line between artist, crew, and production blurred into one single mission, making sure New Jersey experienced magic. By the time the sun rose over East Rutherford on the morning of the show, the atmosphere had shifted from chaotic uncertainty to pure electric tension. Tens of thousands of fans were already lining up outside, chanting, singing, and filling the air with an energy so powerful you could hear it from inside the dressing rooms. Jimin mentioned that listening to the sound of fans singing their songs from outside the stadium walls hours before the show even started was the exact moment his anxiety completely evaporated, replaced by an unstoppable surge of adrenaline and gratitude. Most people watching the concert from the stands or through video clips online had no idea that just 24 hours earlier, the entire production was hanging by a delicate thread. When the lights finally dimmed and the opening VCR began to play, sending a deafening roar through MetLife Stadium, the emotional payoff for the members was indescribable. Jimin stepped onto that stage carrying the weight of the last-minute rehearsals, the technical scares, and the late-night doubts. But the moment he made eye contact with the crowd, all of that weight transformed into pure, unadulterated energy. Fan cams from that night captured Jimin delivering some of the most emotionally charged vocals and breathtaking dance moves of his entire career. Fans on social media immediately began pointing out how insanely expressive he was during specific songs, noting that there was a unique, almost raw intensity in his performance that felt different from previous tours. Little did they know, that intensity was the direct result of the intense trial by fire they had all just gone through behind the scenes. Every movement, every high note, and every warm smile aimed at the crowd was carrying the relief and triumph of overcoming those hidden hurdles. During the concert's ending when the members took turns addressing the stadium full of fans, Jimin said a few lines that at the time seemed sweet and emotional, but now, with the full context of his recent confession, carry a whole new level of meaning. He looked out at the sea of purple lights and told the crowd that coming to New Jersey was one of the scariest yet most profound experiences of his life, and that he would never, ever forget the feeling of standing on that stage with them. The crowd cheered, thinking it was a standard heartwarming concert speech, completely unaware of the dramatic story that had unfolded just hours prior. The aftermath of Jimin's honest breakdown of the events has sparked a massive conversation across the K-pop community. It opened up a broader dialogue about the intense pressure top-tier artists face during massive stadium transitions, especially when returning after long hiatuses. Critics and industry insiders alike have praised Jimin for his courage to speak openly about the struggles, noting that it normalizes human vulnerability in an industry that so often demands flawless, robotic perfection. Armies worldwide have been flooding social platforms with messages of love, appreciation, and support, creating viral hashtags to show their gratitude for the sheer dedication BTS pours into every single second of their performances. What makes this whole situation even more fascinating is how it highlights the unspoken dynamic between BTS and their production team. It wasn't just about 7 guys singing and dancing. It was a testament to hundreds of people working in total sync under extreme pressure to deliver something extraordinary. Jimin made sure to emphasize in his live broadcast that without the tireless, round-the-clock work of the stage crew, sound engineers, and security teams who dealt with the sudden changes, the New Jersey show could have looked very different. He gave credit to every single person behind the camera, proving once again why BTS is so respected throughout the entertainment industry. As videos and analysis of the New Jersey performance continue to trend globally, Fans are now rewatching concert footage with a completely fresh perspective. Small moments that previously went unnoticed. A subtle, meaningful look shared between Jimin and Namjoon during a song transition. A sudden burst of emotional energy during a specific choreography break, or the way Jimin paused to look up at the stadium roof, are now being analyzed as powerful landmarks in this incredible behind-the-scenes journey. It turns out that what fans thought was just a flawless concert was actually a triumph of resilience, brotherhood, and sheer determination. And just when you think the story of the New Jersey concert reaches its natural conclusion, another intriguing piece of the puzzle emerges that hints at what is coming next for the rest of the tour. Because according to several industry rumors and subtle comments dropped by crew members following the New Jersey dates, the adjustments made during those high-stress rehearsals weren't just a one-time fix for MetLife Stadium. In fact, those very changes might have permanently altered the direction for the rest of their global stadium stops, setting off a domino effect that could change how the entire tour unfolds in the coming months. What ended up happening behind closed doors right after the New Jersey show wrapped up is where this story takes an even crazier turn. Industry insiders and touring crew members began whispering about a secret, emergency meeting that was called in the early hours of the morning right after the second night at MetLife. You would think that after pulling off two massive, sold-out stadium dates under such intense emotional and physical strain, the members and management would immediately head to their hotels to collapse and sleep for days. But that's not what happened at all. Instead, Jimin, Namjoon, and the core creative directors gathered in a private conference room at their hotel, surrounded by laptops, stage blueprints, and raw video footage from both nights. It turns out that the last-minute modifications they forced into the New Jersey setlist, the very ones born out of panic, exhaustion, and weather scares, had created an energy on stage that nobody anticipated. The sheer raw emotion, the adjusted transitions that brought the members physically closer to the audience edges, and the stripped-back choreography during the high-stress segments had resonated with the crowd in a way that felt entirely revolutionary. Jimin pointed out during his stream that watching the fan reactions to those modified segments blew their minds. The moments they were most terrified would look unpolished or incomplete actually ended up becoming the absolute highlights of the entire night on social media. This realized truth sparked a massive internal debate among the creative team. Should they revert to the original, highly complex, incredibly rigid stage plan for the remaining tour stops across Europe and Asia? Or should they permanently adopt the spontaneous, emotionally driven blueprint created in New Jersey? Changing an entire multi-million-dollar global tour setup midway through is practically unheard of in the concert industry. Staging rigs, lighting cues, pyrotechnic timing, and video projections are programmed months in advance to exact fractions of a second. To alter them on the fly requires re-engineering the entire show's logistics, costing immense money and requiring round-the-clock labor from international crews. Yet, Jimin revealed that the members pushed relentlessly for the change. They didn't want to go back to the original plan just because it was safe or pre-programmed. They saw what happened when they let go of absolute perfectionism and allowed genuine, raw human emotion to dictate the flow of the stage in New Jersey. Jimin explained that he explicitly told the directors that the magic army felt in MetLife Stadium wasn't an accident. It was the true heart of what BTS is supposed to be in this new era. He argued that if they went back to a rigid, overly scripted performance for the next cities, they would be doing a disservice not only to the fans, but to the breakthrough they had just experienced together as brothers. This led to a high-stakes standoff behind the scenes that lasted for days following the New Jersey dates. Production managers were stressing over tight shipping timelines, venue safety regulations in upcoming cities, and the sheer physical exhaustion of the crew. But the members stood firm, offering to spend their personal break days in practice facilities, reworking the choreography and vocal arrangements themselves, so the staff wouldn't bear the sole burden. That level of artist involvement and humility completely won over the executive team. The decision was officially made. The New Jersey incident, as crew members jokingly began calling it, would become the official new template for the rest of the world tour. When news of this internal decision leaked into music production circles, it sent shockwaves through the live entertainment community. Tour directors from other major Western artists were reportedly studying what BTS did in East Rutherford, fascinated by how a group at the absolute pinnacle of global fame could completely pivot their live show strategy overnight based purely on emotional instinct and audience connection. It shattered the long-held myth that stadium K-pop tours are completely prefabricated, rigid products that leave no room for artistic spontaneity or real-time evolution. Meanwhile, back in the online fandom space, armies were starting to connect the dots. Dedicated fan accounts began comparing side-by-side footage of early tour rehearsals with the actual New Jersey performances, noticing massive structural differences that couldn't be explained by standard stage variations. Threads with tens of thousands of retweets started popping up, with fans asking, "Did something huge happen right before MetLife? And why does Jimin look so emotional during this specific transition?" The collective intuition of the fandom was picking up on the exact story Jimin would only confirm weeks later during his broadcast. What makes this whole saga so unforgettable for everyone involved is what it signifies for the future of BTS. This wasn't just about surviving a stressful weekend or fixing a technical glitch in New Jersey. It was the moment where Jimin and the rest of the members proved that even after years of record-breaking achievements, global dominance, and unavoidable time apart, their commitment to their art and their fans remains completely uncompromised. They refused to give anything less than their absolute soul to that New Jersey stage, even when every circumstance was pushing them to take the easy way out. As rumors continue to circulate about what special surprises are being prepped for the upcoming stops based on this new New Jersey blueprint, one thing has become crystal clear to fans all around the world. What happened behind the scenes in East Rutherford wasn't just a bump in the road. It was a historic turning point that defined the true spirit of this entire tour. And as fans continue to rewatch those iconic MetLife fan cams, knowing the hidden battle that was fought just hours before the lights went down, those performances become 100 times more powerful, emotional, and legendary. And as fans continue to rewatch those iconic MetLife fan cams, knowing the hidden battle that was fought just hours before the lights went down, those performances become 100 times more powerful, emotional, and legendary. However, the story didn't end there, because what happened next caught many fans off guard and added an entirely new layer of mystery to the whole New Jersey experience. Right as the tour logistics were being rewritten behind the scenes, subtle rumors began circulating among international crew members about a series of confidential audio recordings made during those late-night hotel brainstorming sessions. Now, I want to be completely clear here. These are strictly rumors and unconfirmed industry whispers, not official statements. But according to these insider reports, the members weren't just discussing stage lighting and choreography adjustments. They were allegedly recording raw, acoustic audio clips of their vocal rehearsals right there in the middle of the night, capturing the unfiltered, vulnerable atmosphere of those intense moments. At first, no one realized what this meant or why such recordings would even exist outside of standard production archives. Was it just a tool for the members to monitor their vocal recovery, or was there something much bigger in the works? Speculation instantly exploded across online communities. Some fans began theorizing that these unreleased audio snippets might eventually be incorporated into a future behind-the-scenes documentary, while others wondered if we were witnessing the early stages of a special live album concept. While HYB and Bigot Music have naturally kept tight-lipped about these rumors, the mere thought that those quiet late-night hours in New Jersey were being preserved in audio form sent a massive wave of anticipation through the entire fandom. And this is where everything became even more interesting. If you look closely at the social media posts Jimin made in the days following the MetLife concerts, looking back now, those small details suddenly make much more sense. He posted a simple, dimly lit photo of a recording microphone set up near a window overlooking the city lights, accompanied by a caption that merely read, "Memories of the Night." At the time, most of us just thought it was an aesthetic late-night update after a successful show. But when you connect that image to his recent confession about the emotional breakdown and the midnight strategy sessions, that single photo takes on a whole new meaning. It was a silent nod to the intense, beautiful struggle that took place behind the curtains, a quiet message to anyone who knew how to read between the lines. Realizing the sheer amount of heart and dedication poured into every single second of that production makes you appreciate the unique bond between BTS and ARMY on a completely different level. Think about it for a second. In an era where massive stadium tours can easily become repetitive commercial routines, these 7 artists chose to embrace vulnerability, confront sheer exhaustion head-on, and push themselves to the absolute limit just to give fans an authentic, unforgettable experience. They didn't settle for good enough. They risked changing their entire show layout on the fly simply because they believed ARMY deserved nothing less than their absolute truth. Reactions across the global K-pop community have been overwhelmingly emotional. Fans who attended the New Jersey shows have expressed feeling a sense of deep honor, knowing that they were part of a historic night that permanently shifted the trajectory of the entire tour. For those watching from afar through live updates and fan clips, Jimin's honest revelations served as a powerful reminder of why this fandom remains so fiercely loyal after all these years. It isn't just about the chart-topping hits, the record-breaking ticket sales, or the dazzling stage pyrotechnics. It is about 7 human beings who put their hearts on the line every single time they step into the spotlight. Looking back at everything that transpired, from the last-minute choreography panics and the unpredictable weather scares to Jimin's quiet midnight walk across the empty stadium stage, the New Jersey concert stands as a true testament to resilience, artistic integrity, and unbreakable brotherhood. It showed us that true perfection doesn't come from a flawless, robotic execution where nothing ever goes wrong. True perfection comes from the courage to face chaos, lean on each other, and turn a moment of overwhelming pressure into pure, unadulterated magic. What an absolute roller coaster of emotions. Moments like these remind us why being a part of this journey is so incredibly special, and why the connection between BTS and ARMY is genuinely one of a kind. But now, I want to hear from all of you in our Pop Signal family. What was your absolute favorite moment from the New Jersey performance? Were you lucky enough to be at MetLife Stadium in person? Or were you cheering from home halfway across the world? How did you feel when you heard Jimin open up about what really happened behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts, feelings, and favorite memories down in the comments below. I read through as many of them as I can, and I love seeing our global community come together to share their stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to stay updated on everything happening with BTS, Jimin, and the world of K-pop, please take a quick second to hit that like button. It really helps the channel out tremendously. Don't forget to subscribe to Pop Signal and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on our latest news, detailed analyses, and emotional updates. We have so much more exciting content lined up as the tour continues to unfold around the globe, and you definitely won't want to miss what comes next. Thank you all so much for spending your time with me today, for supporting the channel, and for being the most incredible fandom in the world. Take care of yourselves, stay positive, keep spreading love, and I will see you all in the very next Pop Signal video.